So, looking at our second reading, The Purpose and Nature of Business. This is obviously a chapter from a book. I wish I knew exactly what book it was now. A while ago that I got the excerpt. It's by someone named Ron Nasser from 2013. And you can see the connection with the Saracen reading right away in the title of the chapter, The Purpose and Nature of Business. Just echoing the Saracen insistence that if you want to start forming an effective business, you have to ask the philosophical question what the purpose of your business is. And clearly, Nasser is working with Saracen's ideas. Here on page 24, he refers to Saracen and Protzmann's work in Japan after World War II. And so he's obviously working within those ideas that are set out by Saracen and Protzmann. But he's doing more too. I mean, he's expanding on those ideas. He's also using ideas of a very famous business consultant, business philosopher, really named Peter Drucker. Um, and what is the message here? I mean, there's a lot of references here to Peter Drucker, to Protzmann and Saracen, to Taylor, Frederick Winslow Taylor, the great business consultant of around the turn of the century, around 1900. And there seems to be a theme here. And the theme really begins, I think, with Taylor and the misunderstandings of Taylor. Taylor was very famous for what were called time and motion studies to make factory workers more efficient by controlling their movements on the assembly line. But Nasser thinks that Taylor was misunderstood, that was too narrow a focus, that what Taylor was really about was empowering employees. That is, you want your employees to be more efficient, but how do you actually do that? How do you make their work more productive? The answer is you treat them like human beings. The answer is that you empower them. You make them feel that their creative input in the business process will not result in them losing their jobs or being ignored, but that they will gain from the kind of improvements that come from worker suggestions. The idea is that no one knows the productive process better than the workers themselves, so their creative input is absolutely necessary in improving things. This became a big deal in manufacturing when American companies realized that Japanese workers in manufacturing, let's say in production of automobiles, had much more power than American workers in terms of what was happening on the assembly line. For instance, the Japanese workers could stop the assembly line. If they saw something going wrong, if they saw a problem on the assembly line, rather than just sort of let it go, a Japanese worker could actually stop, press a button that would stop the assembly line and give the assembly line a chance to be corrected, whatever the problem was. This was a revelation by that time to American companies. To give that much power to frontline blue collar workers was not part of the American business idea. But if we go back to an American business consultant, Taylor, it's exactly the kind of thing he was talking about. You've got to empower workers. And how do you do that? You make them part of a community. And that seems to be the big message here, is that businesses have to become communities, true communities. And true communities are groups in which every individual feels part of it and feels that they're respected and that their voices are listened to. How does that differ from old ways? Well, this is a pretty amazing thing. Let's see. Looking at my paper copy. On page 30, we see that he says, do all of this, and he's describing the process of community building. And you won't get to community unless you confront the issue of decision making. I see a continuum in the ways decisions are made. In the most traditional companies, it is tyrannical. I am the boss, and I will tell you what to do. This is the enemy. This is the enemy of Nasser and all the people that he is citing. The tyrannical dictatorship, where the boss just says this is the way things are going to go, and you have to shut up and work and do it the way I tell you to. That may sound good in the short term, but what they're saying is that if you treat your employees that way, you first of all you have no community. Your employees have no investment in the company as a community that they belong to. They have no reason to make suggestions for improvement. They have no reason to work harder than they need to get their paychecks. That a company that's built in this military way, where you just follow orders, is not going to be the best company. And I think one of the keys here that of Nasser's point of view, again, comes on page 30, where he talks about to unlock the creative potential of the corporation. That is, that's the idea, is that if you create a community, you will actually build a better company, not just ethically in itself, where people are treated well. They're not treated like things, they're not exploited, they're not manipulated, but in which people, because they're not treated that way, and this includes customers as well as workers. There's a lot in here about not trying to manipulate your customer, but trying to form a relationship, a long-term relationship, and bring them into the community. That by doing so, you unlock the creative potential of the community, where everybody's working together in such a way that we're maximizing the amount of knowledge and insight that we can gain from people at all levels of the company. If you watch the scene from Executive Suite that I gave you, which is a great scene, and in many ways opens up the possibilities of what the different business philosophies are, because there's a character at that board meeting who represents a different point of view, which we will explore, the shareholder value point of view. But if you look at that, you see that in that rousing speech that William Holden character gives at the end. He doesn't say, I'm now the boss and you have to do what I say. He says, I'm now the boss, so let's work together in the best way possible, with each one of us contributing and working together. And as he's trying to form a community. So the idea is that an ethical company is one that forms a community. A community is one where people at all levels feel comfortable and empowered to make suggestions and to offer improvements to the productive process, the way the companies actually run. And that, therefore, an ethical company, that is a company that builds community, will be the better and, in the long term, more profitable business than the top-down, militaristic, tyrannical style.